All right. So today, this is going to be our 1 o'clock creative live discussion, and we have Kati Murphy. Kati, if you don't mind introducing yourself and then telling us a little bit about what started you on your creative journey and got you to being inspired to start your organization or business.
Well, I want to be clear, I'm not a co-founder of Meow Wolf, but I'm Kati Murphy, and I am the vice president of PR and communications at Meow Wolf. It was a weird and twisted path that got me to Meow Wolf. I've worked in politics under um, both Barack Obama and Joe Biden, and spent 5 years working at the Art Institute of Chicago, leading their public affairs team. And I found Meow Wolf, and I was just completely in love with the idea of working for Meow Wolf and making that change to be a part of a company that embodies sort of my punk rock ethos, as well as like my commitment to B Corp ideology and being a place that welcomes everyone. And I love that about it. And I come from a very punk rock background. I have sung in punk bands, I've put on shows. It's where I started. I am a type 1 diabetic. And so early on, I discovered that I could not get health insurance if I didn't have a real job. And there were not a lot of real jobs for punk rock singers and artists that would allow me to do that myself. And so I just sort of pushed my way into a bunch of different careers that allowed me to be creative in the way that I executed my work, but also ultimately, and now here I am at Meow Wolf, I'm working in an environment where I get to be creative in the way that I think. I get to be like, oh, we're going to do a panel at South by Southwest, and we're going to have the panel interrupted by a giant rat, and we're like going to wear a tube between two different people that while talking into the microphone. That sounds like a great idea. So I feel like there aren't that many places where actually there's lots of places where you can take your creativity and use it in a way that is really fun and productive to sort of amplify it. You just have to like find those opportunities and be creative and innovative. I like to talk a little bit about the A in STEAM,
Mhm.
and innovation doesn't come from being where someone else has been. And so anyone can learn something, anyone can understand like numbers or memorization or certain things. Obviously, it requires a lot of work to get to a place where you are innovating in technology. But at the same time, having that ability to think creatively and to come up with new ideas, it's sort of the idea of a compass versus a map,
Mm.
where with a map, if you're using it to innovate, you're kind of going to end up in a place that somebody's already been because there's a map to get you there. But if you're using a compass, you kind of find your way and you figure out how to do it on your own and sort of like tread new ground.
Yeah, I really like that. It's definitely true, knowing that innovation comes from the paths unwalked, right? And a lot of it comes from blazing your own trail, right? Not being able to go through the same places that everybody else has been. And now, I mean, that's the whole point of being a creative is kind of, if not breaking rules, bending rules, right?
Absolutely. I love the idea of like doing things that you're not supposed to do in order to have a really amazing outcome and being willing to fail.
That's the other thing, right? And that's something that comes with being a creative and being a business owner is you got to know, yeah, it's gonna be some times that you might feel like you failed something, but at the same time, sometimes through failure you end up finding the finished product, right? I mean,
I mean,
sometimes
that's
you
the
do
truth.
with a mistake.
100%.
Now, how has New Mexico creative landscape influenced your work, and approach to collaboration?
Well, New Mexico is the center of Meow Wolf. New Mexico is our heart and soul. Santa Fe is where we started, where we're based, where all of our exhibitions are conceived and designed. It is so integral to the identity of who we are that I don't think it could have evolved anywhere else. There is, I'm sure you're all familiar with Virgil Ortiz, the artist. He's spectacular New Mexico based artist in Cochise. And I was talking to him about like New Mexico and what it is. And he said, there's a vortex and it brings us all together and we're all supposed to be here. And I really feel that when I'm there and I'm collaborating with people and I'm meeting artists and I'm getting my hands dirty, that there's just something about creative industries in New Mexico that just has really fertile ground for people who are looking to do something like that.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I like that concept of a vortex. It's like you don't know what brings you to New Mexico. I feel like a lot of people. I mean, I remember when I first moved to New Mexico, I said the same thing. Like I don't know what brought me here, but it definitely pulled me to want to stay here. Right, and and everybody, I think they use it in a negative way a lot of times. It's calling it the land of entrapment, but I really think it's not as much entrapment as like your willingness to stay, right? It's not trapping you as much as it's like this is the place you're supposed to be. It's almost like an oasis, especially nowadays, in the world we live in.
I have a friend who actually ended up moving to New Mexico after being on a road trip, like a cross country trip, spending a couple of days in Santa Fe and going, this is where I belong. And then coming back, finding a place to live and moving to New Mexico.
I'm saying it's definitely it happens like that. I mean, I think I wanted to go to UNM, and that's kind of what led me to come here. But originally, my mom was talking about Truth and Consequences. She wanted to just go there based off it being named after the radio show. So though
Oh,
it's always those little stories that get somebody. It's always something small, right? Trip or some kind of story or something like that. But it draws you here, and then boom, now you find yourself working and being a part of the environment.
yeah.
Now, what advice would you give creatives who want to collaborate but don't know where to start?
Get out there, get out in the world, talk to people, see people who are doing what you want to be doing and reach out to them, have conversations. The there's always opportunity to learn. And when there are people that you admire, I mean, there are so many ways to connect with people, even whether it is going to an opening or going to a networking or reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn, just become like finding ways to connect with the people who are doing what you want to do, who are doing things that would align with what you do, with what you already do, is the best way. Everything in my life that's happened has happened because I talked to the right person at the right time. And it turns into a snowball where you keep having these connections that develop and then you keep working on them. But it takes a lot of energy to sort of make those connections. But I do think that that is probably one of the biggest differences between being seen and not being seen is finding people to connect with in that regard.
I agree. I think a lot of times it just requires just being in the space, even if you don't say nothing to nobody. It's sometimes it takes some time to build up, right? Because networking can have a everybody got their own concept of networking, right? But I think a lot of times it just requires you to be in a space of like-minded individuals and knowing that somebody's gonna come and talk to you eventually, right? And then that might be your intro to branch out a little more and start being able to make those business connections and collaborate from there. If it's business or if it's creative or however it works. I mean, I know I got business partners that I've gotten to meet just over a conversation of Star Wars, right? So you never know where it can come at.
Oh, I know. It's funny. I thinking about what you just said. There was a place that I used to hang out in Philadelphia, and I had moved there not knowing a single person, and I lived there for 3 years, but nobody talked to me. I'd go to this one place every week for about 6 months before anyone talked to me. And finally, like but it was like they were almost feeling me out, trying to figure out if I was going to stay. And eventually I met some of the friends who've become like the best people in my life, who have driven overnight to be with me in times of crisis. And I think it's, whether it's friendship or business, it sometimes just takes that connection to be made and laying that foundation.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, how do you think creative businesses in New Mexico can work together to grow not just individually, but collectively as well?
I think that there is so much opportunity to find commonality and figure out how to amplify each other. I know that from Meow Wolf, I know we often will work with local New Mexico artists who are not Meow Wolf artists, and we will do community events with different arts organizations and be in the community, being a part of the community rather than just like having our name on something. We really do try to lend ourselves well to being a part of it. And I think that finding commonalities where partnerships make sense is a really good way of doing it. This is more of a tourism thing than a creative industries thing, but we collaborated recently with a bunch of other Santa Fe like businesses that cater to tourists, and worked with an influencer who came and who went to all of our locations and created this amazing video that has had 5 million views. And it was something that we did together, and she went
Mhm.
and everyone got a part of that exposure, and that, like, you know, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. I also would like to like point that out. Like that actually is something that creative industries do fall into too. So it's really showing the collaboration between a lot of creative uh I guess I'm trying to say not repeat creative industry so much, but I mean the multiple industries that we serve from the six sectors, that's like intersectionality between those sectors, right? Having the influencers who and then sure included a videographer, photographer, your business and Meow Wolf and other creatives that are coming together to be able to highlight and build up an area for tourism, right? I mean, because every creatives we are everywhere. And I think that's a good way of showing like that collaboration and highlighting that work. Now, what other my other question would be, what is a collaborative project that you've been part of that had a lasting impact on your community or your organization?
I've been thinking about this, and there's some things that are still in the works that I'm really excited about, that are involved in making art more accessible, and but I'm also thinking about the way that we bring in artists and the way that we work with artists in the community, and what they create when we give them that invitation. It's part of our DNA, and it's part of who we are, and it's just an amazing feeling to see something that I've known, um, like in concept, develop into reality. And the work is done by communities. Like, for example, we are now in 5 locations, seven, soon to be seven. And in each of our locations, we don't just show up. Like, we configure most of everything in Santa Fe, but we also work with between 30 and 100 artists in every city that are from that city. And it sort of takes Santa Fe and New Mexico out into the world to show people what we
Mhm.
do, and bringing in these different artists from those communities and adding their authentic way that they engage with us into the mix. And it's sort of like these little tendrils of New Mexico creativity impacting people, millions of people a year.
Thank you for saying that. I feel like that's something that I don't know if it's like known as much to hear that, right? Of Meow Wolf, because you get to yeah, we get to see Meow Wolf in Las Vegas and Colorado, but not nobody would know that most of those pieces are coming out of New Mexico. They're coming out of artists that are local to our state, as well as collaborating with local artists in that area, right? Going to Las Vegas and collaborating with those and Colorado. And I do like the fact that you brought that up of like it's not just a one-way streak, it's actually more of a bridge.
Mhm.
Our artists can go out to those other locations. Those artists can come out to New Mexico and Santa Fe and know that we have a thriving art and creative economy here that they can be a part of as well, and just creating that bigger ecosystem, right? Because we don't want to keep New Mexico, we want to keep New Mexicans in New Mexico, all right, to be artists, but we also want them to know that they can go out and come back, right? And bring others with them.
It's pretty awesome. And I know of at least 5 people who have moved to New Mexico, like in the past couple, since I've been with Meow Wolf for the past 2.5 years, that have moved to New Mexico because of the creative opportunities.
That is great to hear. You know, that means that we're doing something, right? Now, what role specifically? No, I mean, Alpha plays this great role of being a creative organization, looking at artists, but also integrating technology into it, right? What role do you see technology like social media, AI, virtual events, and other things like that playing in fostering collaboration within the creative economy?
I think that's an interesting question, and it's a loaded question a bit because I don't think that we have figured out the right balance of it either as a society or as an organization. Or there are artists who are doing really groundbreaking work using AI, and then there are artists who are telling ChatGPT to create something based on something that they saw, and like basically just it's not innovation, it's more theft. And so both of the time, and so figuring out how to have that balance, how to use AI as a creative tool rather than as a creative mechanism, because I think that the difference is not in it's the elements of humanity that I think are important. That's still something that AI has not figured out how to replicate, and AI can only do what it's told by reading millions of things to create something along the lines through what it knows. And it inherently is kind of anti new and anti innovation because it does not have the capacity to create independently. And humans, I think, can make things easier for themselves at times to create something that they might not have had the ability to do fully on their own by using AI to help with planning or to help with material. But I think that that spark that comes from the idea and that comes from the place of, like truth at this point, I think that we are not at a point where AI can do it for us.
Agree. I agree. I think a lot of people, and you just talking made me think about this. It's like using AI as a library, right?
Mhm.
Even before we had internet, we had other things like that. You had books that you had to go and do research on, and already you had to reference, but knowing you reference, right? Not stole and regurgitated or anything like that. So it's definitely to be used as a basis of like, I don't know how to write a contract. Give me a basic, contract that protects IP. Boom. We know it's a bunch of stuff like that on the website. You got to go still go and tweak it to your business, but knowing it has to be tweaked. You can't just take it for face value.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times we do get stuck with AI. ChatGPT, right, is a heavy marketing piece for AI, and everybody just kind of go to that and think about creation-based AIs and not thinking about the automated system-based AIs like Poppy and other things like that that can help you with your social media, help you with your business structure, I mean CRMs with a little AI in there to help send out your emails. Those are ways that it can help business structure. I don't think it should be any in any way really too many into any way with creation, right? We got enough.
Yeah,
The
and I
human
think
brain is the
that's
best.
And I think that like, the analysis that it gives based on what it knows is also really valuable. Like, I do use ChatGPT to like, I'll be like, what do you think of it? Like I talk to ChatGPT and like it's a person and I'll be like, so what do you think of this? How am I presenting this? And ChatGPT will come back and be like, that is a very natural and well expressed this, but I would change this part of it because it might be perceived like this.
Hmm.
And I'll be like, oh, you're right. And then I'll go and edit and be like, what do you think of this edit? And
I'm with you on that, and I actually want to tie in one more thing because I was just talking to Shawnee, the creative industry director, about this. We had a question about the 1.8 million that happened before we got on, and I was like, really, you can type it in Chat GPT and they'll tell you. It'll give you all the information that we have, and we typed it up and we seen it actually was accurate to all the reports and where it pulled from. And it's like, yeah, you can use it as a Google. Don't steal from it, right? Or don't also know what you're putting into it, right? So
make sure you're checking what you get so that you're not like misinforming based on an expectation of accuracy immediately.
yes, I think you just hit something on the head with that one. Accuracy is really a question you should always have when you're using AI.
Yes.
All right, so I got about two more questions before we open it up to a Q&A. So, what's one thing you want? Oh, actually, hold up. I think no, yeah, I'm right. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure I was going right with the plot. What's one thing you want fellow creatives to walk away with after today's conversation?
I have sort of a feeling about the idea that creativity isn't limited to only expressing yourself in an art form. It is something that should be used in everything that you do and everything that you're thinking about, whether it's how you express yourself as a human or in how you're working or what you're think. It's just creativity is fuel.
I like that. Honestly, I really love that. I mean, you probably can make a shirt with that. Just a gas handle with creativity on
Like
it. But no, that is true, right? I mean, I think you helped me because it was hard for me to come up with an idea of thinking if I was a creative coming from a different background, public work and then business. But you realize, yes, everyone's a creative. You got to be creative to be innovative and to think about what's the nuances and in solving new problems, right?
yes.
So, do you have anything that's coming up, upcoming projects or opportunities or events that you would like to share for local creatives and creatives throughout New Mexico to support?
Oh shoot. I'm trying to think about what we've got coming up. Let me,
You can
I'm
pull it
sorry.
up. Ain't no problem.
That was the like, hold on. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
We do so much. We always like one of the things that we have is our rainbow room at in Santa Fe, which is where we have programming for learning and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And it's like kids can go in and like do art classes or adults too. We have different programming in there and it's a fun place to just go and get your hands dirty and make stuff.
That's great. Honestly, sounds real fun. Sounds real fun. And now with that, we can open it up to some of our guests that came. And if you have any questions, we can raise hands. I see you, Wendy. I did see your hand up. You can go ahead and start.
Thank you, Arlen. Thank you. Is it Katie or Kat?
It's Katie, but I also answered it Kati, Katie, Kat, Catherine, Kate.
Creative name. So here I'm here representing West and Santa Fe, and as you can see, we do entrepreneurial development. We do have a lot of artist clients. So I was curious what you're looking for if we have clients come in here that are terrific artists. Where is the meeting place to send them over to you for opportunity?
I actually, if I can give you my contact info and I can direct them in ways to sort of like the paths that we normally go, whether it's for full-time work or for project-based work as well. I'm happy to share. We do have like a collaboration, like an artist contact form on the website, but I'm happy to be more. It's my email is Kati, Kati.Murphy@meowwolf.com.
And are there certain things that you're looking for now?
I'm not sure where we are right now. We've recently sort of we're working on 2 projects and we might be ramping up for those soon. So
Is that spelled right?
yes, that's good. You got it.
Yeah, thank
So
you.
we've got a few projects that we're working on that we might be ramping up soon, but I'm not sure what the opportunities are in the immediate future. So, but it's interesting because we do, when we look for things, when we look for artists, the range of work and specialties that they have are everything from painting to sculpture to needlepoint to fabric, and it's all different mediums, all different ways of expression. It is, this works for, this is a Meow Wolf fit, this person does something, and it's never something that's like, oh, that looks like Meow Wolf. It's more just, hey, this works with us.
Yeah. So more looking at the skills of the artist than and seeing how it can play into a new exhibit or new project coming up, and compared to worried about what their art style is or looks like specifically, is what you're saying?
I mean, if their art style, well, I mean, their art style is important, but it's about how their proposals and thoughts fit with what we're doing. And like, for example, in our Houston location, there are pieces that are very there's ones that have photos in them and that with sculpture attached, and then there are ones that have like realistic looking portraiture or street scenes or street art, and it's and so it's all just, it's not a specific thing that it's more of how it fits and how it plays into our narrative.
Makes sense. All right. Now, Monica, I did see you get off of mute. Did you have any questions?
I didn't. I don't know why I did that, but this was really great and helpful. It was nice to meet you, Kati, and I appreciate you coming in and talking today.
Having me.
Thank you. And
Mhm.
Jeremy Dreskin, I see that you entered. Do you have any questions?
No, unfortunately, I hopped on late, so I didn't hear the whole conversation. I'm sorry.
No problem, no problem. We're gonna have it. We recorded it, so when we have our recording go up, we'll let you know when we make sure you get that.
Perfect. That's what I was hoping. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Well, if we do want to make sure we give enough space, any more questions?
I had one more question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also somewhat new to New Mexico. I've only been here almost 3 years, even though I stopped in here in the late 90s. I understand people talk about how Meow Wolf has made such a big change in the direction that the art world is going in Santa Fe, and I was wondering if you could speak to that. How it changed the direction and the trajectory that it's on, and how it's working with the traditional arts that are here.
Well, I think that there's quite a few things that are also contributing to that trajectory. I think Meow Wolf has, as well as organizations like Punch Drunk, I think there's groups like Meow Wolf is part of a small group of folks who have changed the trajectory of art everywhere rather than just Meow Wolf. I remember one of the trustees at the Art Institute wanted Meow Wolf to come and do a design for a party at the Art Institute. It is, if you could ever imagine a group of like punk rock scrappy kids going to do something at the Art Institute of Chicago next to a Monet, like it doesn't even seem possible, but really we get calls all the time from museums wanting us to talk to them about how we engage with audiences and what is different about how we present art and how we present fun even. And I think that that element in Santa Fe, which has always been seen as a creative community, but has not always been seen as the most contemporary in that way, that Santa Fe has sort of maybe evolved into a space that is more accepting of contemporary artists who do things differently. And and I think it's spread out.
If I can add to that, I do agree with that just a little bit. 'Cause I think when well, especially been in my position now in creative industries, you see a lot of like Santa Fe's stereotype is like artsy, but it's kind of like slightly, I'm gonna say inaccessible instead of saying snobby, right? But it can be a little inaccessible when it comes to other artists and creators. So I think I would say Meow Wolf has played a part in making it more open and making it feel like the concept of artists in Santa Fe can be a broader definition instead of your what you go to and your go-to galleries and not being and thinking about engagement and interaction. I think that's one thing I love about Meow Wolf is it's not just being it's not seeing art pieces, you are in the art piece. You are
Yes.
playing with it. You're being a part of it. You're seeing how these little nooks and crannies, right, are going into full galleries at times. And I think that changes the way that people really want to experience. You see more people want to experience art than just see it. And I think that's changed the dynamic overall from what I got to see on from my perspective.
Yeah, I think I mean, that's right on. And I think about like Turner Carroll now has Container Gallery where they show really cool contemporary artists. Then and Site Santa Fe is always doing something super cool.
True.
There, it's and it's becoming more like Site Santa Fe. It's international press all the time for really amazing work that they're showing. There's so many different things happening that are not just that sort of staid art world, the traditional Chardonnay and cheese sort of thing that people have always associated Santa Fe with.
All right, I hope that answered your question, Wendy.
Yeah, that answered my question. And I also just wanted to celebrate. I'm happy to see women artists represented because female artists are largely less represented than our counterparts. So thank you for.
Oh, believe me, I don't even get me started on Jackson Pollock.
I just wanted to celebrate it.
Thank you. It's so great to meet you all, and please stay in touch.
Definitely. All right. And with that, I will go ahead and we'll end our creative live discussion for today. There will be a recording of this. I will be downloading it today, so I'll probably make it accessible more next week. And as soon as that download happens, I'll probably share it individually to people who came here via shared document and then go from there to upload it in our social media and get it edited and things like that too.
Oh, I did have one more question. I missed Monica's talk on cultural tourism, and I would really love to see that. Is it possible to get that recording?
Yes, we have that recording. Actually that should be in the works of getting shorts, but also I need to send that recording to Monica herself too. So I'll get both of those to
Can
you.
you send it to me as well, please? Because
Should I put my email here? I can put my email.
I have Katie, I'm just well, Katie and Jeremy and Wendy. I just friended all of you on LinkedIn, but
Oh,
I will
awesome.
also email you because I would love to connect with all of you equally. Just, the whole point of this is collaboration and creativity, right? So
Yes,
just
indeed.
to kind of, continue that conversation about, I mean, architecture is such an integral part of tourism, obviously, art and the people you're working with, Wendy and you, Katie. So anyway, I'll be emailing and reaching out to all of you too. So
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
yeah.
Thank you. See y'all later.
Thank you, guys.